Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inside the Nest, the first edition for men's and women's swimming for the 2020-2021 season. My name is Jalen Ellison, and I'm joined today by second-year head coach Greg Temple. Coach, thank you for joining us today.
Happy to jump on here with you.
So we want to start by talking about your first year. You've been here for just over a year, I believe started in July of 2019, so didn't get the opportunity to recruit a whole lot last year, and really only had about a month and a half of preparation before you started practice. First year as a college head coach coming from the club level, you had a baby in the spring, and then we'll throw in a pandemic just because. So you tell us about your first year, both competitively in the pool and then for you personally.
Yeah, competitively, I was very pleased. We had a lot of early buy-in, which was great from the guys. We had a big senior class. We had 16 seniors last year, not a very big freshman sophomore class. So we had great leadership. We set the expectations early for those guys and just let the athletes kind of, set the culture and set the tone, and, no issues. We trained hard. We raced well. Saw a lot of great swims. GLVCs had, I think 4 athletes make NCAA provisional cuts. So I would consider that a success for sure. We can always be better. And so, having not had a lot of prep time before the season got started and was still kind of picking up on things, the first 2 or 3 months of the season certainly didn't help. But, all in all, I was very pleased. We owe a lot to those seniors for kind of taking some of the things off my plate from a team perspective when it came to just, managing teammates, dealing with any issues that came up, just to allow me to coach. Which is great when you have a crew that can do that for you. Personally, it was, the transition from moving to Kansas City was a little hard for us. We bought a house and renovated it, and we're still doing that even a year on. Little things here and there. The fall was adjusting to a new practice schedule and a new routine, and, kids at, my oldest kid at pre-K for the first time, which he loved. And then obviously we got through conference and spring break hit, and then things shut down. And then we had our second child in April. And, in a weird way, we were lucky to have that time as a family. But it also made a lot of things challenging on the top of that. So, we're glad to be back, and, we're happy to be here.
I think that's the theme I've been hearing from a lot of people is, it wasn't ideal. Enjoyed having some spare time or extra time that we don't normally have with our families, but definitely ready to be back. So speaking of being back, part of that comes with a new recruiting class. And like we said, you didn't have a whole lot of that last year, but now you and your assistant coach, Elise DeFabio, did a great job of bringing in a fairly large class across the board, some talented athletes. Tell us a little bit about them. Were there any specific events that you target, or do you just look for athletes that you can really kind of mold into specific events?
So it's a little bit of both, and a lot of credit does go to Elise for the work she put in, countless hours here and there, reaching out to kids and doing her part, because she's in the same boat as me. She actually started later in the year, and we had to get her up to speed as I was getting up to speed. So a lot of credit to her and picking things up quick and just hitting the ground running and hitting those recruiting calls up and stuff. So what we look for is obviously if we have needs, we're going to try and find those needs. Like this year we were kind of short on backstrokers. So that was kind of something we maybe targeted a little bit, but I certainly am not going to not recruit a great athlete that we see talent in, even if we're stacked. So this year we actually brought in a lot of like flyers and sprinters because they wanted to be here, right? So we're kind of stacked in a couple of those events, but I don't see an issue with that, And if we need to kind of divert maybe some of their events off into some of our weaker spots, I feel that between our coaching and their talent, we can do that. It may take some time and it may take some adjustment, but we're pretty confident that if we have a good flyer, but we need to make them a backstroker, we have the skills to make them, to do that. And we tried to stay local this year. We want to make sure that our footprint in the Kansas City area is big. There's a lot of swimmers in this area that either don't know about Jewel Swimming, or maybe they're hesitant to stay close to home, and that's something we're trying to kind of work through and make them see that this is a great place not only to go to swim, but more so to go to college. And um, so that's something obviously we're going to continue to target going forward for the 21, 22 classes.
Right. I think one of the other interesting things about this freshman class is some more younger siblings. Our swimming program has kind of become notorious for having younger siblings. We've got Connor Sawyer, whose older sister Emily's on the women's team, and then Daniel Samsel, whose older brother graduated a few years ago. Those are the only two in this class. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's it. That's it for this class. But we've actually got our eyes on a couple more little brothers for the 21s. We can't say anything about it right now, obviously, but we're and that's actually, I think, as much credit to the athletes that have come through here, that their siblings see the experiences these guys had, and they want to be a part of it. And obviously the education here it speaks for itself, but when you start getting second and third and fourth swimmers from the same family coming in, I think it speaks well to the program and kind of the legacy we're trying to create. And obviously, if we can make this a great experience, then more people are going to want to jump in.
Definitely. Just very, very cool. I think we had 3 sets last year on the swim team.
Yes, I think that's right. We had the twins and then 2 brother-sister combos. So
yeah, it's just a really interesting. It's not something that happens at a lot of school, I feel like, especially on one team. So talk a little bit more about recruiting. For swimming, we've heard from some sports that said, it's really difficult this summer. Obviously, nobody was allowed off campus, which makes it difficult in and of itself. But some sports saw, those club tournaments and high school tournaments and things shut down. We talked to Craig Sager from golf last week, who just said, hey, golf's playing. Didn't really see any changes for him. Where in that spectrum does swimming fit in? Did you guys have a lot of tournaments meets that you guys could watch or not?
Can you hear me?
There you are.
Yeah.
All right.
As far as, so swimming was an interesting sport because right away everything got shut down, like everything else, right? Pools, especially indoor pools. The southern states with more outdoor facilities, or maybe clubs that own their own facilities, were able to kind of get back in soon under guideline training. Maybe limited space, limited times, whatever the protocols for those places would have been. But then in the north, when there's like limited access to outdoor facilities, a lot of those indoor pools didn't really open maybe until August. So, and then USA Swimming went ahead and just canceled all sanctions for the summer, but they did eventually open up opportunities for what we would call inter squad or maybe dual meets between clubs. We weren't able to obviously go out and watch those. A lot of our PSAs and signees were luckily able to get some competition in. And so, they were obviously able to report, and we could look at results and stuff like that, and maybe catch a video if they were willing to send them our way. But yeah, I think like most sports, we were pretty much shut down from a national governing body standpoint. They canceled they obviously moved the Olympics, which is huge for our sport. Olympic trials got pushed a year. They canceled all national level meets from sectionals to futures, juniors and seniors. That all got shut down for the summer. Usually, from what we found for most of our kids, by June, there was a lot more opportunity to at least train. There probably wasn't much opportunity to race, which is huge in our sport. But the fact that we could at least get back in the water, I think, was crucial. And it really did show, from year to year, looking at what we came in with last year and what we came in with this year. Obviously, people were maybe a little behind where they wanted to be, but I still think we were ahead of where we were a year ago.
Which is great, especially because you are one of the 4 sports that's getting the opportunity to compete this fall: tennis, golf, cross country, and swimming. You guys open up your season on October 9th, so a little later than normal, but not a whole lot. So tell us, what does swimming look like this fall? Are you guys able to operate pretty normal, or have you had some impact because of the pandemic and new guidelines and things like that?
There are certainly some changes. Yeah, we've been working on a more limited like space type thing, and then with our weight room being the way it was, it's been limited as well. So it's really forced Elise and I to kind of get creative with the time and the space that we have. Having a big team of just under 40 athletes, we got 40 schedules to work around. So what we ended up kind of doing is we run basically two of everything right now. We've always run 2 afternoons, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, to accommodate class schedules. But we've kind of had to go that route in the mornings just because we don't want to put 30 people in the pool at the same time. We are fortunate to have our own space for sure, with the pool being swimming only currently. And we do have equipment in and around the pool that we can use for dry land with pull-up bars and med balls and all that good stuff. So even when we do bring the whole team in, we are able to, have half the group in the water spaced out and then half the group on land spaced out in masks, and again, it's all really a testament to these kids. They want to train, they want to compete. And so we put the guidelines in front of them and we said, this is, if you want to race Truman on October 9th at home, here's what you got to do. And, swimmers are notoriously stubborn people and they do what they're told a lot. So, so they've been great. And, it's certainly a little bit more work for Elise and I. We've been on deck probably, 4 or 5 hours more than we would have in a normal year, but it's got to be done. The kids are making sacrifices, and so we're going to make those same sacrifices on their behalf.
Absolutely. I think that's, after losing what we lost in the spring and then even in the summer, not having summer activities, I think everybody's willing to do a little bit more than normal just to have a little bit of normalcy, and get back to competing.
Yeah, and I think there's almost been like a refresh on a lot of our attitudes, if that makes sense. So it's almost like we realize that this is not, this is a privilege, and being a part of something like in our case a swim team it's not a right, and it certainly can be taken away by things way out of your control. So when you're in it, you got to enjoy it and you got to make it a positive experience for everybody. And so having had it taken away in the spring, and we were lucky that we didn't get our conference meet taken away from us, and I know nationals got cut short about halfway through. But we didn't really, we lost our off season, but we didn't lose a ton like some of the other sports that just lost everything. So I think our kids have kind of, they understand that some people have it a lot worse than us right now, or had it a lot worse than us. And so we're kind of living in the present and enjoying it while we can.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things. I think, like you said, just across the board of everybody kind of realizing that it can be gone pretty quickly, and you may not have any control over that.
Yeah,
so
it's already a finite amount. You only get, your 8 semesters, and then life's going to move on. And if things start to get taken on top of that, it becomes really finite.
Definitely. Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to sit and talk with us for a few minutes, and we will speak again. I don't think it's until after your first meet, so good luck on that first meet, and we wish you well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. It was great.
Absolutely.
Great. Have a great day.
Jewel Swimming is in action to open their season on October 9th against Truman State here in the Mabee Center. Details regarding fan attendance will be released soon. Additionally, the last 2 years, our senior day has been snowed out in January, as well as in addition to the uncertainty of the pandemic, we want to ensure that we get the opportunity to honor the class of 2021. So we will also be hosting senior day activities on October 9th.